Welcome to Films and Stuff with your hosts, Pete Mitchell and Ethan Hunt.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Films and Stuff podcast. I'm Ethan, joined by Most Valuable Pete. Hey, Pete.
How are you, buddy?
Everything is good. It is Saturday morning. And if you have not caught our quasi-emergency episode where we broke down Fantastic Four First Steps, we recorded that yesterday. You can check it out. But since it's a Saturday, we return to our regularly scheduled programming, which means our weekly stream or skip segment.
That's right.
Regular listeners know the rules. New listeners may not know the rules. So just as an added courtesy, Pete, can you take 15 seconds and just summarize what stream or skip is all about?
Absolutely. Ethan and I have prepared lists of TV shows for each other to watch. Every week, we randomly assign each other one of those shows. We watch at least 2 episodes if it's a series, or 30 minutes if it's a feature-length program. And on that basis, we determine if that show is worthy of being streamed or skipped.
That's right. And we've been really pushing ourselves this year, trying to, like, for example, Foundation on Apple TV Plus. We're in season 3. You and I have been very loyal watchers of that show. That's not really eligible for stream or skip because, we've already reviewed it previously.
Exactly.
So we're really pushing our limits to try to find new things and uncover some hidden gems. But just like the real mining industry, whenever you go digging, you find some bad stuff and you find some...
Mostly dirt, unfortunately.
Yeah. Is that one of these weeks? Not to give a bad spoiler alert, but...
It does look like it.
Kinda. Shall I go first? I was assigned a show on Netflix called The Residence.
Yeah.
This is like The House, and it refers to the White House, where the U.S. American president lives or conducts business. This is a Shondaland production. Shonda Rhimes, we've watched a bunch of her stuff before, including, but not limited to, Bridgerton, Inventing Anna, Queen Charlotte, A Bridgerton Story. So I've got a pretty good feeling about Shonda Rhimes generally. I have to say I had a general positive outlook, but this has come up on my Netflix feed a bunch. And actually, the trailer is pretty unremarkable. You and I, as an aside, we're getting off right away on a tangent. You and I should do a dedicated episode about what goes into a good trailer, because we've kind of had this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
On a very, let's say, casual way. And I've always held trailers to a very high standard because my perspective is that the trailer, kind of like that old adage, you've got one job, right? It's like the job of the trailer is to do one thing and one thing only, and that's to get me, by hook or by crook, to watch this show, movie, whatever it is, right?
Right. And it's not just one job. It's also just one shot. Because if it's a bad trailer, I'm not going to see a second trailer.
That's right. So I am perpetually confused. And I don't think like I'm this outlier who's got weird expectations for a trailer, or I think good trailers are bad and bad trailers are good. But I'm often surprised at how a trailer can do nothing to pique my interest. And I have to say, this is a very good example that I saw the trailer on Netflix, like the few 10 or 15 seconds that just comes up and runs automatically. There was nothing whatsoever about that trailer that made me think, oh, not just I've got to watch this, and not just maybe I'll watch it, but even like intrigued me to kind of like look into it. Like
right.
it was a really miserable trailer. A little bit of foreshadowing, maybe that's the best they could do, because this is kind of a strange show that my perspective is that I'll give the spoiler alert on my ranking. This is a skip.
Okay.
But it's actually not without some merit. There is let's call him a butler or a concierge, which is Giancarlo Esposito. And during the White House state dinner, Giancarlo is found dead.
Okay.
So there is a great urgency to try to not create a panic at the state dinner and also to try to resolve like what happened. And initially it was thought to be a suicide. And then they call in the Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Police, sends an inspector, and it's Uzo Adaba, who we've seen in a lot of things. And generally, I like her quite a lot. So she comes in as kind of this, let's say, quirky detective or quirky inspector. And of course, she's got this uncanny ability to spot things that no one else has seen. And she does all this kind of like, she's got
House
like a very,
MD style things.
yeah, she's got this very high EQ where she kind of puts these random facts together. And you would think from what I've described that this is a mystery or kind of like a heist or a very serious show. And it's kind of not. It's kind of a comedy
Yeah.
dressed up in Uzo's quirkiness. But at the same time, it's not really like a sitcom. There is a serious murder to kind of resolve and a lot of backstories. So I would say that I kind of liked a lot of different elements of this. I thought the quirkiness was not bad. I don't really like her quirkiness, to be honest, but I could see how it comes off. You know, Randall Park is in this. Obviously, he plays an FBI agent, which I think is the only role that he ever plays. Molly Griggs is in this. Juan Carlo Esposito, you see him kind of earlier in the show in some flashbacks. I like the cast. I kind of like the quirkiness and the humor. Like there were a few things that were a little bit funny. What I didn't like was it's really hard to mash up a serious murder mystery and a quirky kind of comedy. You know, like I wasn't able to get into the right mindset in terms of what is this? Is it supposed to be funny or is it supposed to be serious? And I felt like it kind of not waffled because that sounds like it's unintentional, but I felt like it was trying to take on both of those tracks at the same time. And it wasn't really hitting on either one of them for me. Like, if it's going to be a serious murder mystery and we are really trying to have like a hardcore detective show tracking it down, it should be a hardcore detective show tracking it down. And then I'd be kind of like, maybe not enthralled, but I'd be captured by it. The fact that all the characters were so weird and quirky, I mean, not just Uzo as the detective, but like everybody was quirky, from, the White House chef to the ushers to the Secret Service, like everyone was just kind of quirky and weird. And the fact that everyone was kind of quirky and weird is like, am I watching Parks and Rec or am I watching this deep, like murder mystery? And it just wasn't, I was just kind of watching like two different shows at the same time, although it's done very, very well. So that's in a long, drawn out way the background for my ranking, which is a skip. But it's not a skip because it's poorly done. It's a skip because it's just trying to achieve two things. And I wouldn't say that it's not achieving either of them, which we've seen before. I'd say that the fact that it is achieving both of them is kind of like undermining each other.
Right.
It's like two competitive elements, but they're both equally good. So they kind of like never are able to properly shine.
Let me ask you this. The reason I chose this for you was because it was pitched to me as a comedy.
Yeah.
I have seen or I've noticed, like, for me, it's very obvious. If it's a heist movie, I'm in.
Yeah.
If it's a Nicolas Cage project, I'm in.
Yeah.
Like I have very clear things that I like about certain genres and certain actors.
Yeah.
When it comes to comedies, I still have a hard time reading what works for you and what doesn't. And so that's why generally speaking, I like to put comedies on your list, not because I'm
Oh,
torturing you in any way, but in the sense
yeah.
that I'm trying to find or hone in on what works. So
Yeah.
like of all the sitcoms and, dark comedies that you've seen,
Arrested Development.
okay, there you go. Okay. Anything else?
I mean, I like Parks and Rec as well. I think those are two that immediately come to mind. But I like those because they lean into their quirkiness.
Right.
Like Arrested Development doesn't by any stretch try to be a realistic or a serious drama. It is entirely leaning into everyone's quirkiness, but not just quirkiness in terms of weird. So when I think of quirky, maybe the way I think about it is like, remember Cosmo Kramer from Seinfeld?
Yeah, yeah.
It used to be kind of like the 80s sitcoms always had that one like
The
character,
kooky
like
neighbor, yeah.
yeah, like you think of you, yeah, he was the kooky neighbor. You think of like, remember Family Matters and Steve Urkel. You
Yeah,
think of like Family Ties and remember Nick,
yeah.
Mal's boyfriend.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
you think of
In Blossom, it was the girl with, yeah,
yes,
it's always that there's
it
always one
full
that's a
yes,
standout distraction and comedy sidekick.
exactly.
Yeah,
Full House, it had Kimmy Gibbler. Like those are classic characters that were the weirdo to, break up the show itself, right? So, and I feel like Arrested Development wasn't that, where it just had one quirky character. Everyone was quirky, but it wasn't the quirkiness that made that show funny. I thought it was the cleverness of the writing and how they would constantly intertwine old storylines into new episodes.
right.
Arrested Development got funnier and funnier because once you started to watch it, you would see like the themes repeat
Yeah,
and then you'd be like, oh my God, no, that's coming back to haunt them again. Whether it's like the cornholer or the banana shop or the
yeah.
stair car. It was the way that they just kind of had like those recurring themes at the funniest moment. I think that and Parks and Rec are two great examples of what I think are amazing comedies.
Okay.
So anyway, like I said, I thought that this was a very well done show. I just didn't hit for me. And I think, in my opinion, the reason it didn't hit was it was just trying to do two things at the same time. So
Okay.
no harm, no foul. If so, I could see this being popular on Netflix. It's getting a lot of, let's say, airtime. But for me, it's a skip.
Okay.
All right, Pete, take it away. Maybe you can do better than me this week.
Unfortunately, I cannot.
Oh,
I had The House of David, which was a show that you were unable to watch.
yeah.
And I'm pretty sure I know why you were unable to watch it.
All right, let's hear it.
This is a religious historical drama set in Israel about the David from the parable of David v. Goliath.
All right.
It's the story about, it's supposedly based on the quote unquote true story, but it's got a few creative embellishments, right? It's got that classic thing that historical dramas do, which is like it gives you a little bit of text to say that this is based on true story, etc. These kinds of shows are so they do two things. One, you have to really be interested in historical dramas.
Okay.
And in this case, you have to really be interested in a religious historical drama.
Okay.
How much has been embellished or not embellished? There's no way of really knowing. I mean, I'm not a biblical scholar in any way, shape, or form. If you're not interested in either of those things,
Yeah.
I would be hard pressed to find anyone who would rate this anything other than a skip. It's either going to be a must subscribe for the small, passionate fan base that's all about religion and the historical drama behind it,
Yeah.
because the visuals are amazing. It
Oh,
genuinely
really?
looks better than Game of Thrones in
Oh,
terms
really?
of the set design and things like that. It feels really good. It looks really good. The production design is just fantastic. I have to give that to them. The set design, the clothing design, all of that looks fantastic.
Huh.
How interested am I in the story of a Jewish David and his family line and his lineage and that parable? Not very.
Yeah. It sounds like it's very much a passion project.
It definitely is. It sounds like My honest opinion is that this is again probably one of those shows that was funded by a group, a
Yeah.
religious group, or whatever you want to call
Yeah.
it, that was just like, I really want to see this on screen.
Yeah. That makes sense. I mean, it makes sense that it's someone's passion project and say, look, this has never really gotten its fair shake, or, this is an amazing story that's not, public enough. Let's put some money into it.
Yeah,
But
it's kind of it reminded me a little bit of like Mel Gibson's Passion Project, The Passion of the Christ.
yeah,
It's similar to that in the sense that you can tell that a lot of hard work has gone into this. The actors are giving
yeah,
it their all. The director, the producers, the writers, everyone is giving it their all. And I don't mean to denigrate religion in any way, shape, or form, but it's a niche in the entertainment world. It's a very niche subject matter.
yeah. The Passion of the Christ was a movie, though. This is a series,
This
right?
is a series, and in fact, it's already greenlit the second, from what I understand.
Really?
So either the general populace has a much more favorable opinion to it than I do, which is very possible, by the way,
Hmm.
or the people who are funding it were just like, I don't give a damn what the ratings are. Here's the
Yeah,
money, you're going to do it. The reality is that if you look at something like Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon or,
yeah,
these kinds of shows, you know it's entirely fictional.
yeah,
And so there's no controversy around it.
yeah,
Obviously some things are going to be, like, wow, the red wedding, this, that, this, that. But in this case, because it's based on a real person around real events in real world areas, it's a highly controversial topic, right? And that's not even before you get into well, how do the different religions and how do the different people who follow those religions perceive that story?
yeah. I mean, actually, you've identified two problems with a genre like this, and it could be any specific genre. But first, you've got to get past apathy, which is generally there's a bunch of people who are going to be like, oh,
Exactly.
historical drama, like doesn't matter if it took place in the Middle East, in Asia, or in South America. You've got to get past the overall apathy first,
Exactly.
and then you've got to get past to everyone's like, no way, I'm not watching that kind of thing.
Yeah. And that'll come down to, well, it's not my bag, or it's not my religion, and I don't,
Yeah,
believe in that.
yeah.
So, you're fighting two fights on the same time. And it's just, for me, this is a huge skip, despite the fact that it's a beautiful looking show, just not my thing.
So you've given this a skip. Let's look forward now. What do we have assigned to each other for the upcoming week?
All right. Next week, you've got a show on Amazon Prime, which is actually your first Amazon Prime show of this year.
Oh, yeah.
And you are watching The Bondsman,
Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon.
So that's me for next week. What do you have?
I have a show that, frankly speaking, I mean, based on the title, I'm not looking forward to it alone, called A Good Girl's Guide to Murder on Netflix.
I agree. This is probably not your genre, but this is also getting a lot of press, or
Yeah.
it's getting a lot of hype. So I think that we should review it. I feel a little bit guilty. I agree that's
No,
not
no,
your
no, nothing to feel guilty about. That's the whole point of this, is to find those little things.
that
So,
that's not your natural genre. Okay, so Pete, that is this week's episode of Streamer Skip. Can you read off our social media, YouTube creds, all that other jazz, so that folks can agree or disagree with our rankings, maybe make a suggestion what they'd like us to review, and just overall rant and rave and give us their thoughts?
absolutely. Like this video, leave a comment below, subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to hit that ring-a-ding bell.
Hit the bell. Pete, thank you so much for joining this week. Listeners, thanks for tuning in to Streamer Skip. We will see you next week, next episode of the Films and Stuff podcast. Thanks all.
Thanks, Ethan. Thanks, everyone.
Bye now.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Films and Stuff. If you haven't already, please subscribe and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are downloaded. Films and Stuff. There is no substitute.